Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Cincinnati Business Courier, can the streetcar be stopped? Maybe, but what would it cost? A new place to shop in northern Kentucky for lovers of the great outdoors. And even for those who don't gamble, the old River Downs may become a new hotspot. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning. Welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Brian Patrick. Cincinnati voters elected new mayor in just 2 days, and their decision is coming down to pretty much one issue, the streetcar. John Cranley is against it. Roxanne Qualls is for it. No matter how you feel about the streetcar, the fact is construction of the streetcar is underway. In our front page centerpiece this week, an in-depth look at whether Cranley can actually stop the streetcar project. This is Elm Street outside Music Hall, where the first 80 feet of steel track have been laid into place. If elected, Cranley is promising to stop the $133 million streetcar project and use that money allocated for the project for neighborhoods, bike trails, and a new highway interchange.
We just can't afford it, so we're going to stop it.
But if Cranley keeps his word, the city will waste millions of dollars. Why? There are several reasons. The city has entered into contracts that include things like cancellation provisions. Federal money has been allocated and spent for the project and will have to be repaid. And the expectation, based on a 2007 study, that Cincinnati will recoup its streetcar investment by at least a 3-to-1 margin. So, if elected, Cranley can technically stop streetcar spending if he gets 5 council members to agree with him. But by then, it will be too late to recover the tens of millions already spent and millions more that will be owed to contractors as they shut down the project. Business Courier reporter Chris Wederick spent a lot of time researching and reporting this story. He joins editor Rob Dahlmeyer in the studio with more perspective. Rob and Chris.
Brian, thanks. Chris, thanks for being here. It seems a bit counterintuitive to me because we work a couple blocks away from where they're actually digging up the streets, as we just saw, to put the track in. You know, for me at least, when a project, any kind of project gets to that point, you just say, well, you know what, if you were against the streetcar, move on to another issue. John Cranley has absolutely not done that, which has been surprising to me. What is he hanging this whole thing on? I mean, why is he okay continuing to be against it with all the money that's been spent?
Well, because he thinks there's a lot more that's going to be spent in the future, and that's going to inhibit his ability as mayor, assuming that he's elected on Tuesday, to do other things, to do, as Brian mentioned in the lead-in, you know, bike trails, highway projects, and those types of things. He thinks that the streetcar project will basically eat up the available city capital dollars that he and the council can use. So that's why he wants to stop it, even if he has to give back, you know, millions of dollars from federal money, even if he burns up, you know, at least $23 million in local funds. He's willing to stop it, and that's what he's campaigned on, and he's not backed off in any sense whatsoever as the campaign has gone on.
Do you think there's an expectation on the part of his supporters that this will happen? I
absolutely do. I think that I think that they expect him to keep his word, and you know, he's going to be hard pressed to do so. The 5 council members that he has to come up with. When you look at the council race, I think the general sense is that he'll be able to have those votes if he's elected mayor. But when you ask the council candidates and you drill down, a lot of them will hesitate when you ask, well, the city has spent so much already, would you really throw it all away? And they'll say, well, you know, I want to take a comprehensive look at it when we get into office. So there's not a lot of people out there. There's a few council candidates, but there's, you know, very few that are just absolute, I'm canceling it no matter what.
Great. Well, Chris, thanks, and we'll be certainly looking out for the election results Tuesday night, and you'll have all of that as it happens. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Brian?
Chris and Rob, thanks. Current Cincinnati Mayor Mark Mallory is a streetcar supporter. He delivered his final State of the City address last week, remarks that could be characterized as part victory lap, part stand-up comedy routine, and part plan for a new West Side development. Mallory gave his talk at the Ensemble Theater in Over the Rhine. He is barred by law from running for a 3rd mayoral term. In his speech, Mallory proposed using the Metropolitan Sewer District overhaul to transform parts of the West Side, including constructing a new bridge to Kentucky. Kentucky. Mallory identified 4 opportunity zones: Riverside Park, Hillside Park, a new Echo Park, and Anderson Ferry. He proposed creating an entertainment zone at Anderson Ferry, including a water screen amphitheater. Well, Grader's will open an ice cream parlor in Over the Rhine. CEO Rich Grader said the company signed a long-term lease for about 1,000 square feet of space here at 14th and Vine, the smallest Grader's store in 100 years. If all goes according to plan, Grader's hopes to open the store before the holidays. It will sell ice cream and coffee, but won't have a full assortment of baked goods and candy like its other stores. So why OTR?
People are living here. They're not just coming for dinner. They're not just coming to go see a symphony at the music hall. They're living down here, and that's what makes a community, and Grader's is all about community.
Over the years, 1401 Vine Street has been a florist, a butcher shop, insurance agency, grocery, and music store, and now Grader's. Well, the final steel beam is now in place at the $265 million Joint and Spine Center under construction at Christ Hospital in Mount Auburn. Employees, hospital officials, and project officials were on hand for the topping off ceremony. It is expected to open in 2015. More than 1,200 workers have been part of the expansion project at the hospital. It will include 60 private inpatient rooms, 12 operating rooms, physical and occupational therapy, pain management, and imaging services, as well as a new visitor's garage and new main entry. New $1 million condos are being built at the corner of Observatory and Shaw in Hyde Park. Grywe Development, North American Properties, and Sibsey Klein started demolition of 5 properties totaling about 1.5 acres. Few details are available about the development, called 2770 Observatory, other than it will include luxury condos. Grywe bought the 1930s, 40s, and 50s apartments at the site in 2011 and has been renting them out. Residents were given 90 days notice of the demolition. We're told more details about the condo development will be revealed at a reception in January. Well, spending an entire career with one company is becoming increasingly rare. In this week's issue, we have a Q&A with a CEO who has done just that. For 44 years, Bill Krul has worked for Miller Valentine, one of Southwest Ohio's most prolific developers. Founded 50 years ago, the company started building highways and bridges in Dayton. Today, Miller Valentine is an 800-employee company. It ranks #1 in our commercial real estate developers list.
In the historic development, there's been the thought of build and they will come from developers. But I think in today's world, you almost have to have a tenant before you can build. So speculative development is not necessarily going to be something in the near future.
The company is involved in just about every aspect of real estate, from construction and development to property management and financing for both commercial and residential markets. The historic Mike Fink riverboat will leave Covington's riverfront by the end of the year. No decision has been made by the city or Jimmy Bernstein, the boat's owner, about whether or not the Mike Fink will return to be used as a dining and event center or serve another purpose in the Covington Riverfront Master Plan. Bernstein's son says he knows where the iconic Cincinnati establishment belongs.
The Mike Fink only belongs in Covington. I think me personally, speaking maybe a little bit out for my family, want to see it stay there more than anything else.
The move is part of changes being made around the Covington Landing to accommodate the relocation of Jeff Ruby's waterfront restaurant. The improvements to this area include a new gateway to Covington's riverfront at the north end of Greenup Street, where the Mike Fink is now docked. Field and Stream is now open in Crescent Springs in northern Kentucky. The store specializes in hunting, fishing, camping, and archery. Owned by Dick's Sporting Goods, it's only the second such store in the country. So why northern Kentucky?
Northern Kentucky was selected as a market because it has a great, rich tradition and history in the outdoors. We know that the outdoorsman here is passionate and that they don't necessarily have the opportunity to get everything that they need right here, so we want to deliver that experience for them.
The Field and Stream store is in Crescent Springs at the Buttermilk Town Center. Well, even if you don't like to bet on the horses, you may want to visit the former River Downs when it reopens. We told you last week that historic horse racetrack River Downs is getting a new name and a $300 makeover. Belterra Park Gaming and Entertainment Center should be open next year. The main gaming facility will house 6 restaurants. The transformed racing, entertainment, dining facility includes a repositioned track.
We wanted to be able to truly lay out the facility in a manner that would allow long-term for us to be able to grow.
That is a $300 million makeover, by the way. The big feature of the gaming facility will be 1,600 video slot machines. That's where owner Pinnacle Entertainment expects to generate most of its revenue. Up next this morning on U.S. Bank Business Watch, UC and GE coming together in a big way. And it's a match made in heaven. The pure romance deal is done. Some news you may have missed if you're not reading the Business Courier online every day or following us on Twitter and Facebook. The University of Cincinnati Research Institute and GE Aviation are collaborating on a new research center in Evendale, the first of its kind in Ohio. The partners will conduct research that will benefit GE's aviation products. GE Aviation is sponsoring the research center to a tune of nearly $100 million for capital improvements at the Evendale campus. It is also committing $6 million over the next 3 years to fund the 6 UC researchers and 19 UC undergraduate and postgraduate students who will work in the center. Taste of Belgium owner Jean-Francois Flachet is expanding again. The Belgian waffle restaurant has signed a lease for space at Rookwood Exchange in Norwood. The restaurant is expected to open in 2015 and be located on the northern end of the development's office and retail building, which is currently under construction. Taste of Belgium has an over-the-Rhine location and one on Short Vine in Quarryville. That opened just about a week ago. After briefly flirting with a move across the river, Pure Romance has signed a 10-year lease for space at 6th and Plum Street in downtown Cincinnati. The company, which sells relationship enhancement products, has outgrown its Loveland location. After the state of Ohio declined to extend incentives to the company, Cincinnati City Council approved $854,000 in tax credits over 10 years. Pure Romance must stay in Cincinnati for at least 20 years, according to the deal. The move will bring about 60 jobs to downtown when Pure Romance starts to move there in January 2014. The fundraising campaign for the United Way of Greater Cincinnati is over, increasing over last year, but falling just short of the goal. The 2013 campaign raised $61.7 million. That's up from $61 million raised last year. It represents strong growth, but it's a slight shortfall from the stretch goal of $62.85 million, championed by campaign co-chair and Catholic Health Partners CEO Michael Connolly and his wife Sally. Law firm Katz Teller had the highest per capita giving, more than $2,200. Next year's campaign will be chaired by Jim Wainscott, who is CEO of AK Steel. Well, as the stock market continues to forge ahead and hit a series of new highs, one important aspect of stocks' return is frequently overlooked. That is the income portion, or the dividend. Historically, returns from dividends make up approximately 1/2 of a stock's annual total return in any given year. And with bond yields so low right now, many individual investors are increasingly looking to stocks for investment income. In this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360, U.S. Bank senior equity strategist Jim Russell joins us with his perspective. Jim, good to have you with us.
Brian, good morning.
These stock dividends are really important to us as individual investors. What do they mean for you and me?
They mean a lot. A dividend is just great stuff. Stocks bob up and down, and of course they bob more up than down this year. We're up about 20% plus on the S&P 500 this year. However, in years where stocks maybe bob down, trade sideways, a stock dividend can provide the investor with a certain return. Now, what we've got here is an example of good old Procter & Gamble, maybe a stock that folks that are viewing or joining us today have maybe heard of. What you can see here is if you had bought Procter & Gamble on the first day of the year, you would have received an annual dividend of $2.21 per share. You can see what the stock price was at that time, 67, a yield of 3.26%. Fast forward to more recently, that dividend has been increased 5.7%, which is a key benefit to dividends. They do normally increase, and they beat the pants off of inflation. Procter's had good luck this year. The stock price has also increased 20%. You can see the yield has fallen just a little bit, but in terms of a total return, we're talking about something in the order of 22, 23%. So dividends provide that solid income, and again, it compares very favorably. Those kind of yields compare very favorably against the bond market, as you'd mentioned, which yields about 2.6% right now.
So, Jim, in general, are companies paying more or less in dividends to their investors?
Thank goodness companies are paying a little bit more. Now, we had a little bit of a timeout during the financial crisis where dividends at some companies were cut, and you can see that in the graphic there. Right now, dividend payments to investors are at an all-time high, $307 billion for 2013. That's an increase of 7% versus last year, which would be kind of representative. A 7% increase is about what an investor could expect in terms of annual increases from their dividend for most companies. Now, 415 companies out of the S&P 500, or 83%, pay dividends. Again, most increase their dividends on an annual basis.
As we look ahead to 2014 and beyond, what do you see in the way of dividends and their return?
The news is really very good there, Brian, and what we see there is that most companies are in a very good position to increase their dividends. Now, going all the way back to 1936, companies, for every dollar that they earn, typically pay about half out, 49.2% in dividends. Now, we're well below that right now at 33.7%, indicating that companies are very profitable right now, are in a position to increase their dividends dramatically. We think not just for 2014, but really for the next, call it 5 to 10 years on an annual basis. So again, we think this is a very, very important thing for investors to keep in mind.
Thank you. Very interesting way to look ahead. We appreciate you, Jim, and U.S. Bank.
Great to be with you.
Still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch this morning, would you sign up for a universal loyalty card that was good at all your favorite stores? A local entrepreneur is working to make that happen. Stay with us for his story. And congratulations this morning to Amy Goodwin, another of our 40 Under 40 honorees. Amy is president and executive director of the Johnson Foundation, which provides funding to nonprofits in the areas of urban affairs and animal welfare. And she used to work for us at the Business Courier. Congratulations, Amy. Thanks for starting your day with us this morning in our Business Insight on U.S. Bank Business Watch. Do you use loyalty cards? I think most of us do. Some have a whole stream of them on our keychain. Well, a local entrepreneur decided that he had enough of those cards and created the Lock Universal Loyalty Card. Jack Kennemer calls himself a serial entrepreneur and says this is his 4th startup. The Lock card was unveiled in January 2013 at the annual National Retail Federation Convention in New York. Dave's Soda and Pet City were announced this week as the first retailers to sign on to the Lock Loyalty Card. Loyalty. Kennemer joins our U.S. Bank Business Watch producer Kelly Leon here in the studio to talk about this interesting idea. Kelly and Jack.
Thank you, Brian. Jack, thanks for being here this morning.
Good morning.
I read the story in the Business Courier, and so I have my loyalty cards. I don't have a ton, but I know I'd love to get rid of these, so I thought, I bet I'm not alone with this. How'd you come up with this idea?
2011 Christmas, Dick's Sporting Goods, standing in line, doing what I do. I just always looking around, seeing what's going on, and as I got closer to the register, I kind of picked up on this cadence. Do you have a Dick's card? No. Do you want one? No. Do you have a Dick's card? No. Do you want one? No. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want one either.
Yeah.
And then a gentleman standing next to me, we're kind of just making eye contact, and the lady in front of him gets up to the line. Do you have a Dick's card? No. Do you want one? Sure. And as soon as she said sure, I thought the guy standing by was going to knock her out. He's like, come on, lady. I've been standing in line 20 minutes. I got to go.
Yeah.
And he's just riding her. And so I'm just kind of taking the show in. And then the gentleman in front of me gets up. Do you have a Dick's card? No. And he reaches in his pant pocket, pulls out, holds it up, and it looked like a donut. It had so many key fobs on it.
Yeah.
And then he goes, no room for you.
Yeah.
And puts it back in it. And I'm thinking, there's got to be a better way. You can go anywhere in the world and do business with any merchant in the world with one of 4 cards. Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Why do I have to carry a deck of loyalty cards to do the same thing?
So why do you? Where have you taken this?
Well, we spent an enormous amount of time doing market research, focus groups.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you get a group of people together and you talk to them about loyalty and the essence of loyalty and why merchants do loyalty. And I really had to understand that because that's not where my career has been. So it's kind of a new genre for me, so I had to learn all about it.
Yeah.
And I began to find out the nuances and why merchants do loyalty, why we do it, because we like to feel special, we like to get the deals.
You like the discounts, yeah.
We like all that stuff, but on the merchant side, what they see is what they can only see. They're linear. They don't care what the merchant next door is doing or what the merchant down the street's doing. They just care what they're doing. So what we did is we flipped the model and said, we're the consumer. We can't manage all these linear programs. Getting a card, having to fill out a form, having to go to a website and enroll, have to carry cards, keep track of points. It's just not scalable from a consumer. So we kind of flipped the model and said, allow us as consumers to just carry one card. The card doesn't mean anything. I don't pull up my wallet out and look at my wallet to, oh yeah, this is where I gotta go shop and I forgot.
Yeah.
The essence of loyalty is not having to look at your wallet or your key ring to decide where you're going.
So how do you get the retailers to sign up for this? What's your next step in this?
Well, we just went live on the website in July, and the first thing we did is we went out, again, sanity check, and did what we call behind-the-scene tours for consumer bloggers around the country and actually around the world, and got their feedback on what we were doing. And if you went out and you Googled lock card loyalty, we're probably the first 10 or 15 pages of Google from where all these bloggers have just gone bananas because as when I came into the studio, everybody related.
Yeah, everybody does. Well, this is a great concept, I think, because I'd like you to sign up Panera and Biggs and all of mine here. So good luck with this. Keep us posted, and we'll have you back on to see where it lands.
I'd love to come back. There's so much more to talk about.
Okay, I know. Never enough time.
Never enough.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you very
Brian,
much.
back to you.
All right, Kelly and Jack, thank you. And thank you for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning, 6:30 for early birds here on Local 12. If you get up later, 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all during the week, we encourage you to visit the Business Courier online. You can sign up for our daily emails, or you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The address is CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. For all of us here on U.S. Bank Business Watch, I'm Brian Patrick. Have a great Sunday and a good week, and be sure to vote on Tuesday.